How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about the next installment of Fear Street. This is Fear Street Part 2, 1978. This is from 2021 and was released on Netflix. This is once again directed by Leigh Janiak, and this time around it stars Sadie Sink, Emily Rudd, and Ryan Simpkins. This is based on the series of Fear Street books by R.L. Stine. And this time around, we are doing a summer camp slasher, a very classic genre. And I have to say, I really did like this one. The first one, I had kind of mixed feelings on. I liked a lot of it, but there was a lot of it that just didn't quite work. This one is put together so much better, and it's a clear, focused slasher movie. Also, the slasher element is much more forward. In the last one, it got kind of tied up with the witch stuff. This is a really good slasher, and if you weren't the biggest fan of the first one, but you really like the summer camp slasher genre, I would definitely recommend this even if you haven't seen the first or didn't care for the first. If you're a summer camp slasher fan, definitely check this out. That being said, let's go ahead and talk more about specifics. I'm going to be talking a bit about the plot. No major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on some of the plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what the movie's about. We open up with the characters from the last movie finding a survivor from this movie and eventually convincing her to tell her story, where we jump back in time to 1978. You see, there's these, your main characters this time around are a pair of sisters, so once again keeping that sibling motif that the first one had, but you have the older sister who is the responsible one, and a lot of people say, oh, she used to be cool, but she is being professional, clean-cut, she's got a job, and she's saving up money, and the idea is she's gonna save up money and be able to move out of Shady Side. Shady Side, if you remember the last movie, is where all the poorer kids hang out, and they're a town that has a rivalry with Sunnyvale, where all the rich kids are. And both of the kids from each town are going to this camp together. But anyway, she's saving up money to get out, and then you meet the younger sister who's more the rebellious one. This is played by the same girl that did, she played Max on Stranger Things. And it's cool to see her again, another, Netflix reoccurring actress there. But she's rebellious, and she's getting in lots of fights with the Sunnyvalers. You see, as sort of a joke, they're starting to say that she's the new person the witch is possessing. Clearly not true and no evidence for this, but she's kind of the butt of the jokes. Everyone's saying she's the witch, and she gets really mad and, almost gets kicked out of camp because, fighting and mischief and graffiti, and she's up to a lot of stuff in retaliation. She almost gets kicked out of camp, which really upsets the older sister. You see, they're a single-parent household, and someone needs to watch her when the mom's at work, so if she gets sent back home, then the older sister also has to come back home as well to watch her, and she's out of a job if that happens. So it's this sort of tension, like, you could really mess this up for me. You could mess up my ticket out of this town. So you do get a pretty good amount of tension starting right off the bat there. The older sister has his boyfriend, and one day this nurse character comes in. The nurse character says, "It's you! You're going to be the next one," and starts to attack the boyfriend character out of the blue, and no one really knows what's happening. But of course the nurse is subdued and taken away, and you also find out this nurse is the mother of the girl that we saw in part 1, who is one of the ghosts, the one that sings whenever she kills people. So a cool connection there, but everyone says, oh, she's just crazy, it must run in the family. Now, they go to investigate her cabin, and they find she has this book full of all this information she's collected. Everything she knows about the witch that's causing the curse on this town. And the main girl, her boyfriend, and her former friend, Alice, and her boyfriend decide to go and look for the witch's house because there's this map in the book, and they're like, ooh, we can find the witch's house. And rather than going to that house, they find that there's this big tunnel beside it leading to a labyrinth of underground caves. Now, it's why they're in these caves that the slasher moment starts. The Camp Nightwing killer emerges, and they get trapped in these caves, but they're the only ones that know there's a killer out there. So they're trapped in the labyrinth underneath the camp, and above ground, the killer starts to go and attack people. You see the town, they're doing a color war, as they call it, but the Sunnyvalers versus the Shadyside people are doing this big capture the flag style game, so everyone's running and hiding anyway, and it's the perfect opportunity for the Camp Nightwing killer to come and pick off as many Shadyside people as he can. So it's a pretty cool setup there. Now let's talk about the different elements of this. And like I said at the beginning, this one is so much better than the previous one. I had a big problem. The previous one was a slasher, but it got very distracted. It wasn't focused as much on being a slasher that I thought it should have been, you know? Like, it got really bogged down with the witch stuff, and it had a long period where there was just no one getting killed. This one, it does not do that, luckily. The witch stuff is a setup at the beginning, and then a climax at the end, which is really what it should have been in the last one. So there's just a regular slasher through the middle. Setup, an interesting and different setup, and then a finale piece where things go pretty cool and they bring out some extra elements there in the finale. I really did like that. But for the middle, standard, straightforward slasher, and a pretty good one too. You know, I talked about the last one had that big gap with not too many kills in it, if any. This one, the kills come really steadily. They're primarily with an axe, but they're pretty good, pretty brutal, and a few characters that you wouldn't think would get picked off, they go for them anyway. You know, it's a really good slasher movie where everyone's in danger, but plus you have Max from Stranger Things. You have this boy that she kind of likes that's clearly going to be the sheriff in the future because they tell you several times he's going to be. And then you have a few other people that you want to live as well, plus all the people in the tunnels, and everyone's running around, trying to get out of the tunnels, trying to get there. Ooh, we left that person there. Oh, I gotta save this person over there. And it's this big race around the camp trying to dodge the killer, trying to survive, and trying to save your friends without being jumbled, but it keeps the characters running and moving, and you don't know where the killer's gonna be, and that is pretty fun. It's a really good summer camp slasher, and it feels like it's been a while since we had one. Good kills, a cool character. The killer, you know, you get this possessed counselor character, and through most of the movie, he's, you know, looking down and dark, and he's killing people with the axe, you know, a really good, you know, emotionally disturbed, and then, well, not really, because he's just possessed, but it looks like that, you know, the down and glum and serious, and then just whack people. Really good killer. He doesn't get, we saw in the first movie, he has the Friday the 13th Part 2 cloth sack on. He doesn't get that till the very end, and I kind of wish he got it sooner because it's so cool, but even without the sack, he portrays the character pretty well. Let's go into a few more specifics. This is also very much more R-rated than the first one. The first one was R-rated, but I said it was like what I felt PG-13 should be. This one, they really do up the explicit content and the gore, and there's some good moments there, and I really did like that stronger push into an R rating. You get lots of people that do 80s callback slashers, and they don't go as hard as the 80s ones did, and it just feels like a pale imitation. This really does have a lot of the violence, the R-rated material from the old 80s slashers, and I appreciated that. One thing I did bring up with the last one, people talked about how it had modern cinematography, but it was a 90s movie, and I kind of got that, but I totally see it here a lot more, I guess because I watch a lot of 80s slashers, and also we're going farther back in time. But it is kind of weird to see modern cinematography for an 80s styled slasher. It's sort of another thing that I noticed when American Horror Story did the slasher season. I'm like, this is really modern cinematography. It's not bad, it's just modern and noticeable, but it is a thing. Another thing too, talking about the, well, not really the 80s, this is 78, so we get pre-1978 music, and I feel like the movie, this one was more upfront about its music choices. A ton of hits from pre-1978, Cherry Bomb, Don't Fear the Reaper, lots of them, and they are a little more in your face this time, you know, especially, you know, when they're a louder song. There's a lot of in-your-face music choices, but I did really like them all, so I can kind of forgive them going, hey, here's the song you like, you know, and hey, I mean, I guess I'd rather have them do something like this than just slouch off on the music, but it is a little in your face, but that being said, it's in your face with good songs that we do like, and one of them, I believe, was Carry On My Wayward Son, which I couldn't help but wonder, is this supposed to be an Easter egg, a reference to Supernatural, maybe? I don't know, maybe. But in regards to Easter eggs, there are actually quite a few of them. One of the girls is Alice, the same name as the final girl in the first Friday the 13th. The boyfriend's name is Tommy, a reference probably to Tommy Jarvis, one of the few reoccurring Friday the 13th characters in parts 4, 5, and 6. You also get the cloth sack, very much a reference to the mask Jason wore in part 2, as well as the first half of the reboot. And then you get even the year of this movie, 1978. That's the year Halloween came out, the movie that started the 80s slasher boom, and I have to feel like that's why they picked the year. But there's even this really obscure Easter egg. The nurse, the one who's the mother of the former killer, the nurse is doing a rambling thing where she's talking about pain and punishment, and she goes, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's necessary. And I'm like, that's from Mother Superior and Silent Night, Deadly Night, you know, so I really did like, it's not Easter eggs all over the place, but just enough to keep the slasher fans happy, you know. But overall, I really did like this. This is such a significant step up from the first one. The first one, I liked a lot of it, but there was just so many elements. It was unfocused, and it forgot it was a slasher for long periods of time, and there's weird things like the kids steal the ambulance and no one seems to care. But yeah, it didn't have that weird, you know, where it gets sidetracked. It stays focused. It's a slasher the whole time. I really like that the witch was a setup, and then the climax, you know, so you could do weird, crazy stuff for the climax. Through the middle, though, they kept the kills going, they kept it interesting. I love the summer camp setting, and I love running around the camp trying to save everyone, and it really feels like this big open game. The rivalries between the towns, like I talked about in the first one, it sets it up, and then it kind of forgets about it. Here, having the rival towns in the same camp tracked with each other forces the thing to stay going, and the idea of the rival town, the rich versus the poor, is so much more fleshed out. I mean, they're even doing the color wars, where they're literally pitting them against each other. Now, the rivalry is kind of big and in some cases cartoonish, like when they're literally talking about killing people from the other town again, but it's still way more fleshed out in this one, and I like that as well. And I also do want to say I'm glad that they kept the director from the first one. I was kind of worried that they would just be a whole nother team and they wouldn't feel connected. this really does feel a continuation from the first one. You have the actors from the first one in the prologue and the epilogue. You have the same director and the same feel. This really does feel like a continuation, and it has some of the things from the last one that I was like, I don't know about, but it really was such a better execution, and I wish the first one was more like this, but I was really glad to see this series reaching its potential, and I'm just a huge fan of slashers, and in particular summer camp slashers. To see them finally make a new one, I really like this. This is such a significant step up from part one, and part one I thought was good, but this one is really great. Now, they're doing the third one, which should come out pretty soon. I'm curious to see what they do with that. I don't know if it'll be as good. You know, the summer camp genre I really like, and if you do the work, you can really make a good movie. The next one is a witch story. Now, the witch stories are harder to nail. Like, The Witch was a really good movie, but can you replicate that as easy? I don't know. But I did like the little bit I saw. They did, again, the trailer for the next one at the end of this one, and it looked good, but I don't know if it's going to be as good. Part 2 will probably stay my favorite, but I am really interested to see what they'll do with Part 3, so I'm really excited for that. But overall, yeah, really good step up. I'd recommend it even if you didn't like the first one, and maybe I've rambled for a bit. But to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom if you want to see more. You can click there and see more. And that playlist should hopefully have my review for part 1 in it as well. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.